Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're taking a piece of the ancient Mahabharata myth and breaking it down to its core elements. But look, we aren't going to treat this like some dry, dusty textbook reading. No way. We're going to look at it for what it truly is, a thrilling, high-stakes cinematic heist story wrapped up in a deeply personal tale of family destiny. We've got an impending apocalypse, a completely desperate king, an oddly specific prophecy, and a hero who is literally just waking up to his true purpose. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. The whole thing kicks off with a massive revelation. Imagine you're just going about your day, and your mother sits you down and drops a heavy, cryptic line on you like this one. This is the snake dame Jaratkaru, and she's speaking to her son Astika on the direct orders of her brother, Vasuki, who just happens to be the king of the snakes. She is essentially telling him that her entire marriage, being bestowed upon his father, was a calculated, strategic move. She was given to him for one single monumental object. Astika, naturally, asks the question any of us would. Why? Tell me everything so I can do what is proper.
Section 1. A Mother's Dark Secret. Just take a second to imagine the absolute, relatable shock of finding out your entire existence was pre-planned by your family just to stop a mystical apocalypse. I mean, that is a wildly heavy burden to place on a kid's shoulders. Yet what's so fascinating about Astika's mother in this source text is her complete composure. The text tells us she is totally unmoved by the general distress going on around her, even though her snake relatives are facing utter annihilation. And why is she so calm? Well, because she holds the winning card. She knows her son was literally born to be the ultimate fixer. He's the secret weapon engineered to save the snakes. She doesn't need to panic, because the solution to the apocalypse is standing right in front of her. Section 2. The Curse of Kadru.
Let's move to this timeline and see how this builds. Because to understand why Astika needs to save the snakes, we gotta look back at our tactical briefing. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the mess. It all starts with Kadru, the mother of all snakes. She asked her sons to essentially lie, to falsely represent the prince of horses, Uchchaihsravas, just to help her win a wager. The snakes, to their absolute credit, refused to be part of the deception. Well, Kadru, in a fit of absolute rage, cursed her own children. She cursed them to burn in King Janamajaya's sacrifice and become unredeemed spirits. And get this, the Grandsire of all worlds, Brahman, actually approved this curse. So the king of the snakes, Vasuki, realizes his entire species is on a ticking clock to a fiery death.
So Vasuki desperately needs a miracle, and he gets his chance during the churning of the ocean for the Amrita. Now, the Amrita is the excellent nectar of immortality, and Vasuki actually helps the gods in this monumental task. Once the gods successfully get the Amrita, their objective is fulfilled, and naturally, they're in a very good mood. Vasuki uses this perfect diplomatic window to approach the Grandsire, Brahma, alongside the gods, and politely asks how his mother's fiery curse might be made abortive. Which brings us to Brahman's prophecy, which is frankly incredibly specific. The Grandsire says the curse will be stopped under one highly particular set of conditions. A woman named Jaratkaru must marry a man who is actually also named Jaratkaru. They must have a Brahmana son, meaning a son of the priestly sage class, and that specific son will be the one to relieve the snakes. You really have to appreciate the strategic humor here. The universe's ultimate failsafe against a literal snake apocalypse requires finding two people with the exact same name, getting them to fall in love, and having a kid. But Vasuki pulls it off. He bestows his sister, Jaratkaru, on the sage Jaratkaru, leading to the birth of our hero, Astika. Section 3. The Promise to Vasuki.
So let's shift from the ancient lore right back to the present moment in our explainer. The time for the prophecy to be fulfilled has arrived. King Janamajaya's sacrificial fire is looming. And we have a striking character juxtaposition here. On one side, we have Vasuki, the great king of the snakes. Despite successfully engineering this whole prophecy, he is falling apart. The text literally says his head swims, his heart breaks, and he's so afflicted with fear he can't even discern the points of the earth. I mean, sheer panic. Now contrast that with his nephew, Astika. Astika is a picture of ice-cold confidence. He simply tells his uncle to nurse not thy fear any longer. He takes the burden entirely upon himself, promising to extinguish a punishment capable of burning like the fire at the end of the Yuga, the end of the world's epic. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer weight of Astika's self-assurance. He looks right at his uncle and says, "Nobody hath ever said that my speech, even in jest, hath proved false." He has an absolute, unblemished track record. His word is reality. So when he says he's going to stop the sacrifice, it's not some desperate hope, it's a guaranteed fact. He asks Vasuki to believe his resolve can never be unfulfilled.
Section 4, Entering the Great Sacrifice.
With absolute certainty, Astika sets off. And the pacing of our story really accelerates here as we enter the final phase. Astika is marching straight into an environment filled with powerful priests and energy as bright as the sun. But think about it. What kind of magical weapon does our hero bring to a fire meant to cause extinction of an entire species? Does he bring a mystical sword? Or maybe some crazy rain-summoning artifact? Nope. The source text tells us his grand weapon is simply words mixed with blessings. He is literally going to use extreme politeness, flattery, and virtuous speech to shut down an apocalypse. It is a completely unexpected and frankly fascinating strategy.
So, the crucial point is exactly how he executes this plan. We can break down Astika's tactical infiltration into 3 distinct steps, much like a classic cinematic heist sequence. Step 1, he wends with speed to the excellent sacrificial compound. Step 2, well, he hits a roadblock. The doorkeepers refuse him admittance, but instead of fighting them, he uses his mighty asceticism, his intense spiritual power and discipline to gratify them. He essentially charms his way past the bouncers. Step 3, once he's inside, he immediately begins to adore the king of infinite achievement, the priests, and the sacred fire itself. He launches his ultimate charm offensive.
Astika is now inside the compound. He's face to face with the raging fire and the king, who fully intends to burn his family to ashes. He has deployed his charm, his adoration, and his perfectly chosen words. But as we wrap up this explainer, we're left with a massive, provocative question. Can words of blessing truly extinguish a fire meant to end the world? Can polite adoration really override a curse approved by the Grandsire of the universe himself? We'll leave you to ponder the immense power of words as you think on Astika's incredible heist. Thanks for diving into this fascinating source text with me.